And we are live, and welcome back to another installment of ENTP Life's live editions, where today I'm talking a little bit about Italy. So for those of you who are new to this live installment, what I do is I put out a produced video every Sunday. So that's going to be a little more edited, actually way more edited, and shorter format. Gives you a sense of what it is that I'm talking about for the week. It covers a topic really short so that you get a general overview. But the live video that follows on Wednesdays is meant to allow the community that we're building here at ENTP Life to ask questions, maybe clarify some points from that week's video, and maybe ask questions about other content that I may have featured here on the channel. So the way that I go through these lives is just to talk a little bit about the video of the week and then expand on that with Q&A, answering whatever is thrown at me. And we do that for anywhere from about half an hour to an hour and a half, depending on the interest level. And I have to apologize because I actually adjusted my camera somehow and I can't figure out what I did. So my output video is kind of like cropped down when it's usually the full frame. And I don't know what setting I changed or what I might have done to now have this kind of shrunken screen here. So it might take me like a week or two to figure this out because I don't know when I'm going to actually really look at it. So my apologies in advance for how this is coming off. Now, another thing is here on ENTP Life, we mostly talk about real estate investing, my other business ventures, which include home healthcare staffing, real estate Airbnb. I'm actually trying out this Turo thing, so I'll be giving you some updates on renting your cars on car sharing apps. So that will probably be coming out in about a month or two once I have enough data to kind of make a good case for that. And then I cover everything else that I do to kind of earn money, whether it's YouTube, trading stocks from time to time, whatever it is, I feature it here. And the idea is really to show people or give people a pathway to earn money passively so that they can go out there and live whatever it is that is their dream. A lot of people kind of put off their own inner dreams, I guess I would say, or that thing that you always wanted to do your whole life because of money, right? It's usually the big factors like, oh, how do I afford my kids' college tuition? How do I afford my lifestyle? How do I not kind of just take too big of a chance and lose it all financially or something along those lines? So I really want to show people that, one, you don't have to be uber rich to live out your dreams, unless your dreams are to live like an uber rich person, I guess. But I really try to show you all how you can monetize and to what level so that you can kind of offset your cost of living and have the money that's necessary to do whatever it is that you really wanted to do, so that you're not limited by the job or that you can't move forward in your life because you're fixated to this fixed income. So it's really about how to earn more money so that you can go out there and do whatever the hell it is that you want to do. I hope that answers it properly. And if you like that, make sure that you like, subscribe, and tune in for whatever we're covering. So right now we're talking about Italy. A big piece of what I'm doing here on this channel is covering buying cheap properties in Italy. Now, they're selling properties in Italy for just $1. They're usually in pretty bad shape and need renovations. They're also selling other properties that may just be outdated or not in the most populous cities for really cheap. I'm talking about from $5,000 to $20,000 cheap. And you can get a piece of Italy well located in many instances, and just outdated properties that you could renovate, turn into vacation rentals, or just turn into your personal vacation home. Some people could even buy these properties, renovate them, and rent them out to locals. So it really depends on what your strategy is going to be. But ultimately, one of the common things that are going to be experienced by anybody buying one of these properties is that you're going to have to renovate. And when I started covering this topic, people always ask me, how am I going about the renovations? How am I managing the contractors? What to expect? How is it different than the United States? How are you doing it from the United States? And those questions don't stop. So periodically, I cover the renovations plans, how I go about planning renovations, how I manage the renovations. And this week's topic was kind of based on that. Really, how do you go about renovating one of these properties after you purchased it? Now, when you're looking for contractors, you could go to general listings like Craigslist or Google, especially if if those are classifieds or popular search engines within the area that you're looking, right? Are people posting themselves on the internet there, or are they using some sort of app that's local to that environment? So you could always go there, but you're kind of shooting in the dark at that point. I know one of my friends, I had recommended that he use Craigslist to find contractors. He was new to flipping properties and he got burned because he kind of picked up the wrong type of contractor, and he didn't have enough experience to kind of screen out the good from the bad and that sort of thing. And that was my own gap, right? I know that if I was hiring people off of Craigslist, I'll be able to filter them quickly because of inherent knowledge and experience working with that audience, that you can't just trust the first guy that shows up. So now when I'm recommending to anybody who's asking about contractors is that rather than go to Craigslist first or the search engines, go to people who are well connected in the community and ask them for referrals. Typically, you should probably start with asking other people who've just renovated their homes, like you could clearly see, and say, hey, who did your work? And did you like the work that they did, and get a recommendation there? Or you could ask your agent, your attorney, people who are actively doing tons and tons of transactions, because they're going to always meet people who are in the business and really know what their reputations are. I'll get recommendations for contractors all the time from real estate agents, whether it's landscaping contractors to carpenters, plumbers, whoever it is. They tend to know people because if they've been in the industry long enough, you make these contacts. So after you have, some leads on what sort of contractor you're going to need or that you want to use, really your next step is to screen them out. And you want to make sure that they're the right fit for you, that you like their work, you like their responsiveness to you and their communication style and their overall vibe, because you're going to be tied in with this person financially for some time. They're going to be doing your home, so you're going to have to see their work all the time, and there's going to be some relationship that's established. So it's pretty important that you test and check for rapport with this person, because if your communication styles vary greatly or your personalities vary greatly, there's going to be trouble, right? Even though their work is fine, if they're not communicating with you the way that you need to, you're going to get frustrated and you're going to say, hey, this person's not updating me in time. May not affect their work or their timeliness for their work, but it may affect your psychology because you're like, they're not answering me something wrong. They're not answering me, did they steal my money? Especially if you're managing the project abroad where you can't just pop up and ask questions, right? So you need to make sure that those things match. Another thing that I recommended in this week's video is that you can't trust your contractor to pick the designs for you. And this is a mistake that a lot of people make, is that they'll say, hey, the contractors are doing things all the time, they must be hip to the latest in design. And they're not. Whenever they're going to do something, they're going to be thinking about potentially how to save you money and what their personal taste is. How do you expect them to know what your particular taste and style is? Some of them may pick outrageous tiles that you would never, ever want in your home because you gave them the freedom to kind of pick and choose and design. They may have done so because they visually like it. They may do so because it's the cheapest tile that they could find and they want to make the larger spread on the material cost, right? So you want to avoid that scenario. And the best way to avoid that is either identifying the look and feel that you're going for and instructing them and ensuring that they understand the details of the work that you want. You might show them a white subway tile. Make sure you specify that you want glossy or matte, rectangular or square, right? Rectangular up to what size, what dimensions. If you don't give those details, you're just leaving them with options, or you leaving them with the opportunity to make their own decision, and it may not match what you had in your mind. So the more detailed the visuals are that you give them, the better. If you even can go get samples, SKUs, I'm talking about every last detail of what you want for your space, especially if you, the way that I start with a picture, right? I go to Pinterest, I look up photos that match. I actually got to backtrack that. I don't start with pictures. I start with a mental picture of what sort of look and feel I want. It might have been from recent inspiration, right? It might have been I went to a hotel and I liked the feel of that hotel, or I went to a restaurant and I liked the color scheme of that restaurant. And I'm always looking at design. How did they use tiles? How did they use texture? How did they use color? How did they play with materials? How did they play with lighting in that particular space? And then I kind of keep track of that mentally. And I might go to a property and say, all right, this property feels like X, right? Like it reminds me of how I felt in said restaurant or in said hotel. And I want to emulate that look and feel. I think it'll go well with that space. The next thing that I do is then I go to Pinterest once I have this mental picture of the feel that I want to capture. And then I kind of describe that. I could put something in like white, modern home. I don't know, something like that, right? And or maybe a tile, like white, modern marble tile. I don't know, something like that. And living room, right? Or kitchen or bathroom. And then Pinterest will start to filter photos that match my keywords, etc. And then I just start to build a book of these images. And I gradually filter it down until I have the looks that I want. And then I start looking for the materials and specifying how am I going to find the materials that match this space, right? This picture that I see, you know, the size of the tiles I'm looking at, the dimensions of the tiles, whether they're rectangular, square, hexagon, whatever, you know, the mosaic, whatever it is that's in the image. And then I start to really try to identify where those tiles could be picked up, whether it's Home Depot, Floor and Decor, etc. Or I just get a picture from Pinterest, download it, and I talk to the contractor and say, hey, look, I'm looking for tiles like this. Do you know where I can find them? They tend to know where to source things. So they'll say, oh, yeah, I know of a tile shop that may have this, or I know of several tile shops. And then you start working on like the pricing of those tiles. What do they have? How closely do they mirror what you want? And you just kind of start building from there. And I do this on virtually all my spaces. I even do it to a point where I have a few typical templates. If I liked how something worked out in a home that I renovated and flipped, and it's just going to be kind of like a cookie cutter thing, then I'll kind of have my template of floor color, cabinet color, basic design elements. But when I'm doing something new, I go through this process where I go off of the look and feel and say, hey, I want to replicate this look. It's a skill that you need to develop over time. Now, if you don't have the patience to develop it over time, you're not a designer or anything along those lines, I highly recommend that you go out there, you hire a designer, because the designer is going to have that skill set and make that totally easier. It's going to cost you some money. It may cost you a few $100. May cost you a few thousand, depending on the extent of the work that the designer is going to do. But most designers will charge you something like $100 an hour for their time. And you could kind of tell them what your budget is and kind of what you're looking for. If you're just looking for photo inspiration, maybe a few samples. But then it goes a little beyond that. If they're going to start doing site visits, checks, working with the contractor directly, then the price is going to go up. Okay. I found pretty good designers just kind of cruising sites like House, HOUZZ, or Pinterest, or posting ads online. There's a lot of ways to find designers. Again, you could ask the realtor, do you know any interior designers that you would recommend, that you like how they work? You might get a good lead from there. So that's usually the process. Okay. And then you go a little further after you interview. You make sure you talk budget. You make sure you give them the best picture possible for them to really bring to life what you had in mind. And you have to be realistic. You can't, expect to get this lavish bathroom, right? You might be looking at a picture of a bathroom that's 200 square feet, and you are only working with 48, right? You're working with a 6x8 bathroom, and you want to get the look and feel of the 200 square foot bathroom. This is a mistake that people make, and the final product is going to look nothing like it, and then you're going to be disappointed, right? So try to kind of operate with what you really have. Look at pictures that are reminiscent of your space. Try to match the size, the layout, window sizes, kind of where the light is coming from. All that is going to dictate the final look of it. So really try to get as close as possible to the look and feel of your space when you're looking at like the inspiration, right? If not, then it's not going to come out right. You're going to be grossly disappointed. But that's more like a beginner move. Final thing that I would say is really decide how are you going to pay for this project, right? And that leads me to the conversation on the super bonus and the other bonus or tax credits that are available in Italy. There are tax credits that range, I think, from about 30% all the way to 110%, meaning the government will reimburse you 30% of your rehab cost up to 110% of your rehab cost, depending on what sort of updates and renovations you're doing. You're going to have to put that money out up front and then most likely get reimbursed. Now, I'm in the application process working with Nicolo Bola, that was featured here on the channel. He's helping me with that process. And once it's approved, I'll know exactly the details. But I really do believe that we're going through the whole application process. We're showing them the cost, the specs, that sort of thing. When they approve the application, then I'm most likely going to have to show receipts of payment, or that check is going to be cut directly to the contractor. That's a piece that I don't know just yet. But what I do understand is that if they give you a voucher or they give you a tax credit, that you could take that tax credit most likely to a bank or to the post office, and you could exchange that tax credit for cash money. And it's probably going to be something around like 90 to 95% of the face value of that voucher. So if the voucher was $10,000, you might get back $9,000, right? Why is that? Well, the bank is going to pay, if the bank had to pay $10,000 in taxes and they were able to buy your tax credit for $9,000, then they're going to pretty much have a savings of $1,000, right? And that might be worth it for them to rather pay a discount on your voucher to save them money overall. So they'll cash you out in that way. Or you could apply the tax credit to your future tax liability. Once again, I'm not the expert on this, but as I go through the process, I will learn a little bit more. And that's pretty much it, right? If you're not using the tax credit, you're going to need credit cards, you're going to need cash, you're going to need to be able to finance that project. Most of the time, contractors are not going to want to get burned by you. So they're going to pretty much collect a deposit, a mid payment. And by the time that they're getting to like the last payment, it's probably going to be like 10 or 15% of the total project cost. They should have already taken the majority of their profit, covered all their costs to date. And then that last bit is like that gray area, and they don't want to get shafted on completion. At the end of the day, there was a $10,000 quote, you've given them $8,500, and now you're flaking on the last 15. They're not going to want to be on the hook for the last 50%, right? So you need to make sure that you have the money to be able to cover those costs as they come up. You might want some float money for materials as well. A lot of the contractors don't want to include materials in their bid because they don't know what your taste is in the finishes. You might want a $20 per square foot tile. They're budgeting for $4 or $5 a square foot. Now you have a big gap and a big issue. So most of the time they'll say, hey, we'll do X, Y, and Z. These materials are included. Finishes on you. Standard. But either way, you need to have the liquidity to afford to pay for those things. Okay. Now I'm going to kick it over to the Q&A board at this point because I'm done kind of speaking my piece. So I kind of want to know what sort of questions you guys have and women as well as to how do I go, like potentially anything about the Italian process, and more particularly any questions on uh, the renovations process and sort of things that to look out for or how to approach it. Okay, so the first question is from Suma Nulu. Is there a town you recommend in Italy near the beach that is in the low cost house program? Thanks. Okay, so if you're still around, um, the only areas that I know, and this is through talking to other people who are investing in Italy, are Scalea and which is in the Calabria region, right? So Calabria is like the boot of Italy, and Puglia is the heel. Now, since they're thinner sections and they kind of stick out into the ocean, they're a lot of those towns are coastal. So you could look into some of those coastal towns. I actually am featuring two people on the channel really soon who are going to talk to me about their experience in those two regions and what to expect cost-wise, etc. But if you're looking at coastal towns that are doing cheap properties, definitely look at Calabria and the towns that might be auctioning properties or giving up properties for cheap, and look at Puglia as well. And you should get a good sense of that. In Sicily itself, I know Sambuca is closer to the beach than Musumeli, but it's still a bit away. Agrigento is a proper city on the southern coast. I would imagine some of the properties are moderately priced. You know, Sicily is not a very expensive place to be. I'm not sure how much properties are going for in Palermo. The next time I go out there, I'll probably look into kind of what you get for within a certain price range, so you could really see what are the options between the €1 towns, right, and the price range there, and then some of the coastal cities that may have more activity, for people who are looking for that. No worries. Rob, what's going on? Hope all is well. Yeah, there's no questions today. Okay. Well, if nobody else has any other questions, I might be wrapping this up. This is pretty unique in that usually when I am talking about Italy, there tends to be more people interested. It might be the time that I started today. But so sorry about that, guys. Let's see. There are plenty of pictures of old San Juan house. Yeah, exactly. If you let's just say you wanted to kind of go with like colonial Spanish design, right? You would be able to look up Old San Juan. You'd be able to look up like colonial Spanish design, and you'll get a lot of information just from those images. Like what are people posting and how are people tagging it? And then you'll see color usage, finishes, tile choices that may be time period specific. And if you're trying to recapture that time period, then you know what you need to try to match for. So yeah, thanks for that recommendation. See, Rob is using books for inspiration. Okay, what time frame for renovations are you considering for a job to be finished? What time frame do you mean my time frame on my properties or in general? If I'll try to answer both. My time frame, I've been hoping that it's going to be done for the past 2 or 3 months. Every week I've been hoping that, and they're not done because Sicily kept closing. Contractors working another job in Palermo, so materials are in short supply. Um, I'm virtually, I would say I'm about 75% of where I want to be. He might have like another 15% to do out of the work that he's contracted for. And then the rest is on me for final kind of design elements and touches. Um, but in my opinion, these houses should have both been done in about 4 weeks time each, with a crew working on it, like not even that, because a four-man crew could have steamrolled through both of those projects rather quickly, in about 4 weeks. But with all the coronavirus crap, and yeah, that's really prolonged it. Yeah, they'll be coming. They'll be coming. What are good towns near more cosmopolitan areas, more urban? That I don't know, because you know what do you want out of, like, you want think let's think about that. You think there's going to be $1 homes near Rome or near Milan for that cheap, right? Like, oh, 10, 15 minutes away? Absolutely not, right? So there's going to be some sort of trade-off between what is desirable for you, etc. So it's like, you may find property near urban areas that may be 15, 20 minutes outside the main urban area, priced fairly well. It also depends on what you think is priced fairly well. So I think there's a lot of subjectivity there. For me, I haven't even looked at those things because I'm just trying to get done with my projects. It was impulse buy. And, as I go back and learn more, then I might look at, where else I might want to be and spend some time researching. But, the expectation of being near a major city or major urban area and getting properties on the cheap like this, highly unlikely. No idea. I think I think I think there's a big misconception here. I bought these properties because they were freaking cheap, and I felt that I couldn't go wrong with my spend, right? Even if it was a disaster, even if I go there once a year or once every 5 years, the amount of money didn't make a difference to me. And I was like, it'll still be cool to have my place in Italy, right? So if I want to, work on my Italian cuisine and I want to work on speaking Italian and I want to, I don't know, just escape the US for a while and just do something completely different, I got a place. If I go completely bankrupt in the United States, right? All my businesses die, I lose all my property. Hey, you know what? I have this paid off house in Italy, right? I lost everything else, but I still have that. So my logic was never appreciation. Never is this a good investment opportunity. None of that. I just knew that for less, I could buy and repair a house for less than the materials cost to build a new one. For me, that's where the value was. If I could buy and repair a house for less than the replacement cost, then and it's not just in the middle of nowhere, then I got something that I think has value. That's the way that I perceived it. Appreciation, for there to be appreciation in that market, you would need an increase of supply and demand, or you would need to force the appreciation by repairing the property, right? So let's just say you bought a property for 5,000 euros and market value for something like that renovated is 40,000, 35,000, let's just say. But you only spent $20,000 in fees and repairs, right? So you spent 25 grand altogether, the acquisition price, the fees, the reno, for a property that's worth 35. You have appreciation right there in what you've created. But as far as like natural appreciation, that is a combination of supply and demand plus inflation. So I think, it's kind of hard to predict in those areas because they're already experiencing population loss. I think if you're going to look for appreciation, it's going to be on the forced appreciation side as to, what is the market value of these properties if they were in good shape. Hello, Tanya. How are you? Yeah, my projects, I wanted them to be about 4 weeks. That was what I was budgeting in mind, um, and what I feel it should take. Like I said, if it was my New York crew, they would have banged that thing out in about 2.5, 3. So I felt 4 weeks was adequate, maybe 5, but we've been at it for, I guess, since September or so. So something like that. I think I closed them, both of them, by September or August. I can't remember. Of course, no, of course not. Just wondering if there are some hidden gems of urban areas that are in major. No, listen. How are you going to hide a hidden gem inside a metropolitan area? You might be able to. You listen. There's hidden gems everywhere. You might be able to find a grandmother who has this old dilapidated property. Nobody's looking to help her sell it. You walk by it every day. One day she's out there, ripping down vines, and you say, "Hey, I'm interested in buying it," and maybe you work out a deal, right? But I think that's unlikely. Do I know if it's possible to rent it, like in the current condition? Like, hey, there's a €1 house that's sitting around, and you want to strike up a deal just to lease it? Is that your question? Will you consider investing more near Palermo or Terracini, understanding they are more accessible? I don't know. I already have one property in Sicily. I'm not stuck on Italy. I am not trying to build a portfolio per se in Italy. I'm more interested in building a portfolio that is kind of spread out through regions that I want. More likely, like I don't know who I told this today, but somebody was asking me, am I going to buy more properties in Italy? And I was just like, maybe. If I spend a lot of time there, then I will, right? Because it's going to happen naturally. But the very next project, I'm in contract now for a project in Brazil. And after Brazil, it's going to be Spain or Greece. Spain is doing €1 properties, so that has my attention. Greece, there was one property, one area that I came across, especially if financial crisis comes around the corner. I think I could do something really nice in Santorini, Greece. So it's after Brazil, it's a toss up between Spain and Greece. So I see myself doing something different before another city in or another town in Italy. Makes sense. Glad you think so. Steven, welcome. How are you? Rob, I'm exactly on the same boat. This is a very special investment, kind of an adventure, but not expecting any appreciation. Yeah, it's going to be hard. It's not a pure investment play. You could approach it that way, but since I haven't, I can't advise on it. The thing that I would tell everybody is, make sure you're buying well below market value. Make sure that your renovations are baked into your formula so that you know that even after renovations, you're still below market value. If you do that, then you've made a good buy. And then really know how you're going to monetize that space. How are you going to recapitalize? Is it going to be through sale? What's going to be the time to get something like that sold? Is it realistic to get it sold? Are you going to generate income from rentals or, some sort of business use? Those are all things to consider. But, I think a lot of these projects are more passion projects than they are about building a portfolio. Because even if you made 20% return on investment on a $30,000 investment, or this $6,000 a year, if it took you 1 year to do that project, is it really worth it? I don't think so. Steven, thank you. I appreciate the feedback. Ready to settle down with one of those hot Italian or Brazilian girls? I'm pretty settled now. I got a hot Venezuelan girl, uh, and I have some kids, or one cooking and one running. So I guess there's always room for more, but yeah, I'm not looking to settle down. I've already settled down. Anything else would be for fun. Uh, Dr. Bell, LOL. I was not clear in my question. For example, everyone wants to buy in Paris, but Metz, France is a wonderful urban area which is more affordable. Sorry, questions are unclear. I see what you're saying. So you're trying to say like what neighborhoods near the big cities offer value compared to the branded big city. I don't know. I have no idea when it comes to. I think if you're going to look at, I guess here's a good example, right? The Amalfi Coast is known as a tourist destination, right? Um, but the Amalfi Coast is just north of Calabria. So the vibe, the feel, the look is the same, except properties that are coastal in Calabria are cheaper than Amalfi. And folks that are from the north of Italy coming down for the summer, or people who are in Europe coming down for the summer, they're going to be looking at value, right? Can I spend a whole summer in Amalfi and spend $300 a night for my place? Or can I, for, I don't know, an average of $50 a night, get a place in Calabria? Ocean's the same, look and feel is the same, less expensive. So what do you think is going to happen? So I think that's the best comparison I could give, but I don't know enough to say, well, this particular city, this town within that city or on the outskirt of, I don't have that knowledge, unfortunately. Christopher Warren, when will we see pics of your renovations? When actually I've shared just a bit in my community and on my Instagram page, but I have two reveal points, right? I want to do a reveal that is the renovations before I go, right? Which is going to be the work that the contractor did, showing what that work is and how much it costs, etc. And then I have my last 20% of like decorating and final touches that I wanted to be around for and see, and the final reveal of that. So my initial intention was to go down to Italy, spend maybe a month or two this summer, but I can't do that anymore for other reasons. But even if they were open, but my plan was to do that in July and August, or maybe just a month of August, and spend August sprucing up the property, getting it ready, finding my project my building managers, staging, doing everything, and that would have been the final. So until my contractors are done with their piece, you're not seeing anything. And then I have to trust them to film it the way that I want it to be filmed, so I could give an update. So yeah, it's going to be a while. Is there a website where you can get an idea of the market value of public listing of properties for sale? Not like Zillow. There's nothing like our systems here in the United States. It's pretty fragmented in most countries, which is a damn shame. I've always thought about creating like an MLS in those regions. I think it would do pretty well, but no, not that I know of. I think you would just have to contact an agent and find out. Arlie, what's going on, man? How are you? We've been trying to get a hold of you to activate your on time. Why are you ducking us? So reach out to me and let me know what's going on so that we could get you set up. I'm trying to live my life, trying my best. I think I'm doing a pretty good job. I still have a few areas that I think I could improve. It's really work-life balance, and I tend to stretch myself in too many directions at the same time, and I need to spend more time kind of living in my passions and not really doing other crap. Thank you for your insight. This is something I am seriously considering. Awesome, man. I think you should take some action and definitely do something. I think at worst you lose some money, but it's going to be exciting the entire time, and you're going to have a story to tell. So why not? They aren't even letting people travel there. So how can we get in to buy a house? And are they going to buy into this dumb health pass? I don't know. I have no idea. I don't even know if there's a health pass. I no idea what this health pass is. But I'll tell you this: the Mediterranean economy is highly dependent on tourism. It's been last season they opened up. So this summer, I guarantee you they open up again and whatever, deal with it. To take away summertime from the Europeans is like, I don't know. It's just blasphemy for them. So if they want political unrest, then they're going to keep up with this nonsense. I anticipate things going pretty well. I see more and more people getting vaccinated. I think even with the AstraZeneca vaccine that really had no adverse reactions. It's just BS news. I think things should be okay by summertime. Does location factor into your decision when you're buying a property? I have a criteria in that I want to be a mile or less from a train. Yeah, location can factor into some of my decisions, but most of the time it's not, because I realize that I'm not so like I'm so welcome to change that if I get a property in Musomeli and I'm like, yeah, I don't really like Musomeli so much, I'll keep that property, figure out some alternative use to generate income on it to at least cover its cost. And then I might buy something in another town. And I won't feel, any hard feelings. I'm not so attached to any place that I get so picky about those things. One thing that kind of matters to me is proximity to water. I like to be able to at least get to the ocean in a reasonable amount of time, or get to like a nice body of water to enjoy the water. Like for instance, Medellin, Colombia, I love it. And it's not near the water. There's some lakes nearby, but I know that I could get on a 45-minute to hour flight and be at the coast. So whatever, you know what I mean? An hour ride to the airport, 2 hours later, I'll be at the beach. I think I'm okay with that. You're ducking. Please help me, charity? I don't know what you mean by that. J. Robert Simmons, are you going to try to get dual citizenship or registration in some other countries you're investing in? Absolutely. Bro, who helped me from my financial issues? Listen, man, I'm going to tell you something. The only person that can help you is yourself. Asking is one way to get help, I guess. But you're not going to get much by just asking. You're going to get way more by doing. I don't know what your financial situation is. I don't know what you would consider to be help. I would just say, be specific. Please, someone help me. Yeah, I don't know if I could help you, bro. I don't even know what kind of help you're asking for. And see if anything else comes through. Well, nothing else comes through. Just an FYI, for those of you who maybe you're looking for some help, I'm launching a new program this spring called, I think, Passive Workforce. The name isn't 100% yet. I start filming in just a few days. It's an instructional, pretty much step-by-step guide on how to start a healthcare staffing firm or any staffing firm in general. I also have another program called Killing the American Dream, where I teach people how to invest in 1-to-4 family real estate. Links for that are down below. The new program actually is meant to get people to really create a passive workforce, a team that they can manage from anywhere in the world, so that you're able to hire and place people in jobs. That way they're getting paid and you're getting paid a spread. And I kind of show you how to do that. A lot of people ask me about home health care, and home health care is not easy. You could ask Arlie. It's not an easy business. It's hard to get started. It's hard to scale. And it's highly regulated. I always tell people, if you want to get into healthcare and make money from healthcare, get into healthcare staffing, lower barrier to entry, still a lot of opportunity there. So I'll be launching that program hopefully by mid to late May, early June. And that's going to be in a whole nother exciting time. And as I lead up to that and build to that, I'll be sharing that information here. So, Mr. I Need Help, you might want to sign up for that course. That might be one of the best ways you can help yourself. So, anyway, let me just see what this question is. Robert Simmons, are you concerned about the crime and deteriorating economic situation in Brazil? Am I concerned about the crime and economic deterioration in Brazil? I think the economic deteriorating conditions in Brazil are really the result of, poor management of the country. I think due to coronavirus, that's really taken out a lot of economies. I really think we're in for a nice 3 to 4 year recession, coming soon. And I don't think it really matters where you are. With Brazil, I'm buying my property on the cheap. I feel like I'm getting it at a 30% discount. And I actually have faith in Brazil as a nation. As long they just need to get the corruption under control. I think they're a pretty progressive South America. It's the largest economy in South America. And it has 220 million people, the majority still within the working class, low-cost labor range. They need to start producing some really good exports and start selling to the US and other top-tier spenders. Right now, they should be trying to outcompete China for US business. And I think if they start to move in that direction, where they're making, all kinds of things to export to the States and capture some of that Chinese market share, it's closer than China. I think that would make the most sense. Does that happen overnight? No, I don't think so. But I'm not too concerned. No, obviously, I just said I'm buying something over there. I think if I stay away from trouble, I should be okay. And I think where I did decide to buy, it's not a big city. It's in Cabo Frio, so I think that insulates me a little bit from some of the crime. Small towns are less crime ridden. I'm not worried about it. Short answer. All right, guys. Thank you very much for joining me on this installment of ENTP Life. If you haven't already, smash the like button, as Graham Stephan would say. Please click that like button. Share this video with anybody that you think will find it interesting. Sharing is caring. And if you're not already a subscriber to this channel, make sure you subscribe. I put out videos twice a week. One live just like this one on Wednesdays, and a fully produced video on Sundays. I'm not sure what next Sunday's video is going to be just yet, but stay tuned for that. It should be something fairly exciting or related to money, right? And for a lot of people, that's exciting. So make sure you check that out, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Good night.